There's no question that climbing mountains involves dangers. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. I hope that the way we engage with risk in the wilderness is somewhat calculated. And to do that, we need to have skills. So my parents started me skiing at a very young age. I think that's kind of where it starts. And then I remember as early as about 8, I remember reading an article in a ski magazine about being a ski bum. And I thought, yeah, that's me right there. That's what I aspire to. But of course I went to university, as you're supposed to. While at university, ended up in the Canadian mountains in the Rockies for the first time, and the penny dropped. Skiing became backcountry skiing and became rock climbing and very quickly mountaineering and so on. And it became not just a passion, but an obsession pretty quickly. Ended up quite early in my career in the Himalayas on an expedition and fell in love with the place. And ended up living in Nepal for about 6 years and guiding there. And then shortly after that, I happened to be invited to come and work at a helicopter skiing operation in northern India and ended up running that operation for 11 years. And it was during sort of that period that I plunked my bags down on Vancouver Island. Adopting our son from Nepal and starting a family and so on, those were some of the impetus that meant I needed to be somewhere of a home base a little bit more, and Vancouver Island was the spot. And that's when we started Island Alpine Guides and later Hike Vancouver Island, and the rest is kind of history.
So, aside from all the blaring lights and the cameras, this is a totally casual conversation.
Okay.
No worries, no stress, not a big deal whatsoever.
My name's Tanya. I joined SAR in 2019.
My name is Amber. I started in 2021.
I'm Sheila, and how long have I been in SAR?
13.
13 years, oh my gosh, wow.
I'm Angela. I've been with SAR for 13 years as well. We cover from the Oyster River to the north end of the island to Cape Scott, and then the east coast, Powell River to Bella Coola, and all the way to the west coast of the island.
The park is deep wilderness.
It's really difficult to get to.
But also really popular.
And very popular.
Yeah, it sees a lot of recreational use. So just by virtue of the amount of use, there are going to be calls there. a lot of the topography is really quite extreme, and it's not like you can just drive up to where the subject is that you're trying to help or find.
So I will show you guys some tricks with especially getting into more of the alpine scene of like your Clove and Munter.
It's kind of Vancouver Island's mountain school and guide service. It seems filled a niche that was not being filled. Islanders love their mountains and want to get into them, either with a guide taking them and showing them away, or even more so learning how to do it themselves. The community is definitely growing, and more people are climbing in the Island Alps. There's a lot more new route activity than there's ever been, and there's some very good young climbers putting up some quite hard routes, which is very cool. So there's a new generation of climbers, or several new generations of climbers on the island, and the community is growing, and it's active for sure. We obviously have two main seasons, summer and winter. In the summer, predominantly what we're doing is teaching people how to climb mountains or how to just move through the mountains on foot as a hiker. There are fundamentals that people need to have to go into the wilderness, navigation skills, basic backpacking skills, food prep, emergency preparedness, so that they can just start moving around in the wilderness with their risk being managed somewhat. Then a lot of what we do is people wanting to get into more technical terrain, people wanting to climb on mountains and slopes that are steeper, meaning they need to learn how to move on rock, snow, and ice typically, because all three are features of getting to the summits of mountains on Vancouver Island. So rock climbing courses, an alpine rock climbing course like the one you witnessed today, and mountaineering courses, teaching people how to climb and secure themselves when they're climbing on snow and ice, and traveling on glaciers as well. Then in the winter, it's all about moving around in the mountains when they're snow covered. The real entry point for that is needing to have fundamental avalanche knowledge.
Unlikely, but here, natural unlikely, but human triggered possible. Up here.
Then they might take those skills and want to go into the backcountry on skis or split boards or snowshoes.
And then you go into, remember this morning we spent some time, simple, challenging, and complex terrain. Still don't give them altitude guides because it's just a huge. So this one, like I said, you charge it up with a USB port. There you go.
The technology just keeps getting better.
I think it's kind of changed from searching to rescuing.
Yeah, the two-way communication is nice because we can find out how many people are in the party, what the injuries are, what equipment we need to bring in, and how many people we might need for the call. When I started, you would hit your SOS. It was just a location. We had no idea how many people were hurt, the extent of the injuries, if they were moving or anything. That was just a one-spot shot. I think it's definitely more rescue-based instead of the multi-agency ground pounding through the night. And education's changed too. I mean, we have the Adventure Smart program. People are trip planning now and telling people where they're going, which I think has helped a lot.
We do still have searches. I just think that the percentage of searches versus rescues has shifted.
You would expect that in any mountain community, mountain educators and search and rescue groups would have convergent objectives. Perhaps again, because of the size of this community, although this happens in other communities, we have a very close relationship with our local SAR teams in a couple of ways. One is that we do a lot of training for those SAR teams. When they require training, particularly in technical aspects of movement in the mountains, it's us that they come to for that education.
Yeah, look at this one.
The other way that it happens is when they encounter rescues that are perhaps a little more technical than they're comfortable with or have the expertise on hand for, they'll actually call on us and bring us on board to help in rescues. And a super intertwined relationship between us and local SAR, a really positive one. We're pleased to call them friends and colleagues.
I think we're all going to be big advocates of keeping it free. If it was being charged, often your friends would go out and rescue you without the training and the tools, and instead of one person that we need to rescue, it now becomes 3, 4, 5.
You have people waiting because they don't want to call because they can't afford to be rescued if they have to pay. So you have people more injured or more lost.
More in
and
pain.
Taking longer and being stuck out longer, yeah.
Whether people were paying for rescue or not, we are, volunteer professionals, and we're always kind of at the mercy of the funding system.
But we're really thankful for the government spending model instead of having to actually fundraise for all of our costings. Back when I started, it was a lot of dry grad, bartending, driving people around just to get funds to keep the building open. But now we don't have to do that, which is we can put all our effort into actually searching and rescuing.
The business of information sharing, especially current conditions, route conditions, learning experiences from things like near misses, that kind of stuff, super valuable in raising, the risk management potential for everyone. And it's interesting because this is something that doesn't just happen in a climbing community amongst, recreationists. We do it at the professional level as well. We can all debate social media, and I certainly see it as having plenty of flaws and problems, but that is one way in which it can be really, really useful. Once of being involved in a rescue on Mount Colonel Foster, where some really good lessons were learned and where the people involved were really generous in requesting a debrief with me and then being willing to share the findings from that debrief with the whole community through social media. I think it's one of the strongest things we can do to manage risk.
For me, it's the smiles on the families when we bring the people home.
When we do get that person and they're thanking you profusely, going, oh my God, I don't know what I would have done, that's why I'm here.
And then the secondary to that would, I think, be just the camaraderie, because the kind of people, the kind of people that are drawn to search and rescue are pretty awesome.
And I mean, we get to train in some of the best places on the island. Take a helicopter to the top of the mountain just to hike down a drainage and go see cool stuff.
We do get to see some pretty cool stuff, yeah.
There are many outdoor pursuits that we do that involve dangers. You might even argue that part of the reason we pursue them is that they involve danger and that there's some kind of enjoyment in experiencing and managing that danger. We need to have skills for managing that risk. We need to develop our movement skills. We need to develop our skills with technical systems for managing risks, so rope systems, avalanche prediction systems, and so on. And we also need to just fundamentally gain experience in the mountains. There's so much of what we learn to be more proficient at managing risk in the mountains that comes from nothing other than mileage in the mountains.